And I remember one day, this was a point, I got to the point of my life, I didn't even care if I wanted to live anymore. I said to myself, I'd done everything you can imagine. I lived a high life. I lived in a gated community, $1 million homes. I flew on private jets. I sold millions of records. Everything that you can probably imagine that will bring you happiness, I was able to experience that. So I got to the point, I said, you know what? There's no need for me to live anymore. What I'm going to do now with my life, I'm going to intoxicate my body. I'm going to intoxicate my brain. Every single day for the rest of my life, I made a pledge that I'm going to be drunk and high until I die. This was my pledge because I didn't want to live anymore. I was so unhappy that I said that I'm going to drink, I'm going to intoxicate myself because there's no purpose of life. And one day, in my mind, in my state of intoxication, I was in a recording studio and I got into a fight with my own little brother. And when I fought my brother, unfortunately, I could have killed my own little brother. He had to go to the hospital because he had to get staples to put back the hole in his head. He had to get staples to close the hole in his head. And that day, by the permission of Allah, there happened to be an American Muslim named Mikhail Kamil, who was also a musician. When he seen the fight between myself and my little brother, he broke the fight up. And he asked me what was my name. And I told him my name is Mutar. He said, it sounded like an Arabic name. How did you get that name? I said, well, because my mother and father were Muslim. He said, so are you a Muslim? And I was drunk, and I said, yeah, I'm a Muslim. And he started asking me about Islam. I said, well, to be honest, I don't know nothing about Islam. And you know what was crazy? There was an artist. Most people who might know him, he was from England. His name was Seal. He was an artist that did, I would say, pop music. So one day, Mikhail, he come to me, and I went to Mikhail and I told him I want to do a song with his artist Seal. And Seal at that particular time, he don't do music with no one. But this guy Mikhail, he made it happen. So myself, the Outlaws, we did a record with Seal. And when it was time to pay, the guy Mikhail, the brother Mikhail, he called me and he said, I have to send you the bill to pay. I said, how much is going to cost? He said, I don't want you to pay me money. He said, I want you to visit the mosque. I said, wait a minute, that sounds strange. You don't want me to pay you money? You want me to go to the masjid? He said, yeah, that's all I want from you. So I said, okay, no problem. After he kept calling me, I eventually accepted his invitation. Remind you, the people that murdered my mother and father when I was 3 years old, they claimed to be Muslim. So my entire life, I grew up with a negative mindset and thinking about Muslims. From my ignorance, I didn't want to be around a Muslim. I didn't really trust Muslims. So now this guy is asking me to come to the mosque. But I have no other choice because I have to pay him. So I remember calling my friends. I took a loaded gun. I took a gun, I put it in my waist. I called my friends. We went up there, about 20 of us. And I walked into the masjid. And it caught me off guard. Because I seen things inside the masjid that I didn't see in the entertainment industry. I didn't see in my community. I seen brotherhood that I didn't know, that I didn't believe can exist. When I walk into the masjid, it was a predominantly Black American masjid, African American masjid, but I noticed I seen white Americans. I seen Arab Americans, Pakistanis Americans, and everybody was hugging each other. Everybody was joking and laughing with each other. So this was a brotherhood that I seen that crossed skin color, race. It didn't matter. They all was one body. And that was different growing up in church. And growing up in America in church, if you go to this church, it's either all Black church, or it's a white church, or Korean church, Asian church. You never really see multicultures within the church in America. So this was the first time I entered a place of worship, and I seen people from all different color, all shades, all race, different languages, but they all treated each other like brothers. And prayer time came, and this brother told me to pray. I told him I don't know how to pray. I told him I never prayed in my life. And I remember his words. He said, pray with us. Whatever you see us do, you do. But when you put your face in the floor, remember that you're only worshiping your Creator. So whatever you want, you ask your Creator. And I remember when I put my face down to the floor, this particular time in my life, I didn't want money. I didn't want anything from dunya. Only thing I wanted was happiness and tranquility. I would have gave my money up to be happy. So when prayer time came, I remember putting my face down to the floor, and I remember praying to God. I said, oh God, can you please guide me to a way of life that will bring my happiness? Guide me to a way of life that will bring my happiness. So when the prayer was over, I asked the brother, I said, give me literature of the Quran. The literature of Islam. He gave me the English translation of the Quran. I rushed to my house just so that I can read it. When I started reading this literature, I started reading about names that my grandmother used to teach me growing up as a Christian. Names such as David, Solomon, Abraham, Moses, Isaac, Ishmael. These are names that I knew my grandmother used to teach me that they are prophets. But now I'm reading about these names and I realized that these are prophets of God and messengers of God. And then I was able to read the last messenger of God, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who came from Arabia over 1400 years ago. And he came with the same exact message of Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and David. And that message was to worship your Creator. The purpose of our life is to worship our Creator. And when we say worship our Creator, it doesn't mean we worship and pray nonstop. No, a Muslim, Islam is a way of life.